Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones. Tonight's topic, I'm going to talk about how the princess syndrome can lead to a toxic relationship. Now, if you don't know what the princess syndrome is, it is basically a histrionic personality disorder to where a person is looking for attention. And in the histrionic personality disorder, there are other disorders such as narcissism, schizophrenism, because under schizophrenia, there's delusion and paranoia. Now, with the princess syndrome, this is where you have a female who's basically immature, but she has the mindset that she is a princess and she's entitled to receiving gifts, men paying for dinner, and to sum it up, she wants to be on a pedestal. But now, is that the woman's fault that she's an entitled princess? To an extent, yes. But one has to dig deeper and understand that it's these men. It all goes back to the men. Because what we men have been doing with women, we always think that they're sugar and spice and everything nice. That's what we were told, particularly the older generation in school. And boys were the problem. Certainly boys are the problem for catering to women who have the princess syndrome. Because when you deal with a person who is entitled in their mindset is going to be of a child. You have to constantly tell them where they're right or wrong. At the end of the day, they're not going to listen to you because in their mind, they're not doing anything wrong. And they don't admit when they do anything wrong. But what I'm going to do is give you some characteristics of the princess syndrome and how they can be toxic to any relationship. To start off, there's always fussing, some type of arguing, conflict, drama. And basically, someone with the princess syndrome is going to fuss over anything, no matter how big or how small. Because princesses never want to break a sweat, and I'm talking about both figuratively and literally. They want to be excused for their preferences, and they want to be treated like they're on a pedestal all the time. In other words, the world centers around them. They don't do a lot of things for themselves because they're spoiled and they're used to getting everything they want from men. And they believe that every man is the same, and they can come around every man with that same type of entitlement behavior. They also whine very much, or nag. When she doesn't get her way, or if the spotlight isn't shining brightly on her, a princess will whine. And she'll whine and complain until someone appeases her. If not, you have to deal with her backlash or her childish behavior. And also, she's very passive aggressive. When you talk to her, she won't engage in any type of conversation. She's going to be passive aggressive on how she applies to you. And her passive aggressive replies are going to be emotional, shameful, and they're going to be somewhat condescending. Because she's going to try to put you down for not catering to her and call you selfish. That's what princesses do. But these type of people I call rotten brats, because only rotten brats whine and throw tantrums when they're not getting their way for prolonged periods. Because if you're not mature enough to know how to handle the challenges of life, then you have the princess syndrome as a female. Again, the princess is very indecisive, but she still wants to be in charge. They always want to have the last say, be in charge so they can boss everybody around, which is understandable if you only know what you want. But most princesses don't know what they want. They'll say anything when it comes to deciding, particularly on a date, where to eat for dinner, but will reject every option that you as a man will propose. And they'll say, well, it's your fault for thinking that you had the freedom to choose. Okay. As a woman, never forget your place. If a man is going to take you out and he's proposing something to you, if you don't like it, you don't have to be with that man. But it is not your place to tell him where he cannot take you, especially if he's taking you out. It's also unhelpful and unproductive, especially if you as the princess counter no suggestions to contribute. Princess syndrome girls are generally dissatisfied with the fact that no solution appeals to them, whether they're actually the root of the problem or when they're actually the root of the problem, because they really are the root cause of the problem, taking every criticism as a personal attack. This is when they get sensitive emotionally. They want to hang the phone up on you when you talk to them. Well, a princess doesn't take criticism very well or truth very well, or considers advice to be constructive, ever. They'll usually avoid admitting when they're wrong at all costs because they're really sensitive. Every hit will be taken as a personal attack. Even if you tell her you look different today, she'll say, different? Are you saying I look bad or something? Seriously? You're the rudest person ever. And did that girl just throw shade at me in her histogram story? I bet she was referring to me. That kind of nonsense. They're just petty, and you can never argue with them. Princess syndrome sufferers will jump at what you say according to their mood, and everybody has to walk on eggshells around them. Not giving guys any chance. Well, there's nothing wrong with having high standards and understanding what kind of partner you desire or deserve. However, when it comes to a point to where you are complaining about being forever alone while brushing off every guy that comes your way, it's princess syndrome acting up, because you consider people they reject, or they consider people they reject as being beneath them. Again, you have to realize that the princess syndrome gals are very delusional because they think the world revolves around them. These girls have strict checklists that knock guys out of the dating game the second they don't possess any of the defining traits that are listed in their list of unrealistic expectations, which can be as important as being taller than 2 inches. Always expect guys to pick up the tab. Not only do girls with PS, which is Princess Syndrome, have unrealistic views on their Prince Charming, they also have sexist, double standard opinions when it comes to relationships. See, everyone loves to be pampered and spoiled with gifts, but princesses expect it. And they expect for men to shower them with materialistic affection. Yes, you think it's 2017, which we already know it is 2017, and you believe that girls aren't that shallow anymore. If you believe that, then something is wrong with you. You need your head examined as a guy, especially with feminism that has been on a rise ever since the 1960s. But you'd be surprised on how many women out there, although they talk about equality, they're in a workplace, they're getting just about everything they want, well, they really aren't, because they're never satisfied. And see, with the princess syndrome, they want equality as a benefit when materials and money is coming into them, but they don't want to give anything up. But at the same token, they want the traditional values to where they're living in the Leave It to Beaver days, to where they're being catered to by their men. It's an oxymoron. Doesn't make sense. Aggressively hints of favors. Now, princesses always seem to have some type of ulterior motive when they're acting sweet, because they're more self-serving than they are giving or kind. They think that they can manipulate you to get what they want from you. They'll passively, aggressively hint you that their friend's boyfriend bought her this and that, or the prior boyfriend that she had was a great man. And the way I knock off that is, why aren't you with him? And then they'll try to compare you to that guy that they're not with. That's called a shaming tactic. And if you're not going to pick up on those not so subtle hints, hell hath no fury like a princess scorned, you're going to be shamed for it. See, what they're trying to do is emasculate you. And that emasculation leads to manipulation by trying to get you to be a simp. Change your manhood ways to become sissified to confide to them. That's the princess syndrome. And a lot of that is going on here in 2017. Not truly appeased. Even if you cave and you give them every single thing that they wanted, appeasing every whim and fancy, they will never be satisfied. That's right. It will never be enough to satisfy a princess. Because number one, their standards, again, are unrealistic, and they always want more. The princess lifestyle is ongoing, and their expectations will only correlate with the amount of times you give in. So mathematically speaking, the more you pacify a spoiled girl or a princess or a gal with the princess syndrome, the more acceptable her behavior becomes in her eyes. That's right. What I'm trying to say, mathematically speaking, the more you pacify a spoiled girl with PS, which is princess syndrome, the more acceptable her behavior becomes in her eyes. Now, in short, if you put up with a princess long enough, you're going to be miserable. Now, how do you deal with spoiled partners? Well, we can all be guilty of acting spoiled and princessly or princely, and that's both boys and girls. But the novelty of receiving gifts and sweet gestures might eventually become an expectation. So if you can relate to all of this, what I'm saying in this part of the video, your princess, you need to cut that out. Because real men are not going to fall for that nonsense. It is absolute BS. And it makes you a spoiled, bratty child. And that's what a number of women are. And again, over the past 40 years, there's been a sharp rise in female entitlement. And any woman who identifies themselves as a princess, queen, diva, or any goddess is typically more interested in being worshipped as an infallible being or pampered like a Siamese cat that she is in being in a reciprocal love relationship. Now, let me say that again. Any woman who self-identifies themselves as a princess, queen, diva, or goddess is typically more interested in being worshipped as an infallible being or pampered like a Siamese cat than she is being in a reciprocal love relationship. But the problem isn't just with these princesses. It's with the guys, because the guys keep caving in. Now, here's some reasons why men should avoid these princesses. I already gave you the characteristics. Now, you have to avoid these princesses, okay? Because she really isn't loyalty or royalty. Now, unless she has inside connections with royals, she's not a princess. She's just a regular human being that has this imagination that she's a princess. You see, a number of women out here with the princess syndrome are children, and they're living in this fantasy world. What? Because anyone who wants to be treated like a princess, for the most part, they're not going to be impressed with anything you do, no matter what you say. It's a life of basically chasing your tail to satisfy a princess. And when you have exhausted all of your resources as men, she'll get somebody else to do what you didn't do. Because any grown woman can actually look in your eye and tell you she expects to be treated like a princess, has the emotion or the emotional IQ of a toddler. She does. So do you want a woman who's a spoiled brat? If you do, you're the problem as a man, because that spoiled bratty woman is going to make you miserable. When you're with a princess, You want to avoid her because she's not cost effective. They have high standards. They are very high maintenance. They're expensive. They have constant demands that they want you to fully satisfy. And why? Because they have no intention of paying for it. That's right. People with the princess syndrome want you to do the work. They're not going to do the work. And what are you going to get in return? Mostly nothing, not even sex. These princesses will try to shame you into why you should be paying as well. And that's the big thing as a guy. We tend to fall into the cave because we want to prove to these princesses that we're men. That's where we make our mistake. Most princesses, they don't know how to have a conversation. They're boring. Why? Because everything is about them. If you have any type of serious conversation with them, they're going to get their feelings hurt, particularly if you point out something that they're not doing, because princesses will never admit when they're wrong, and I just mentioned that before, I'm going to mention it again. It's always somebody else's fault. They're always going to shift the blame. And if you have a conversation with them or a conflict with them, it's going to be round and round and round and round, where she's always going to be fishing for something to say, even when you lay the facts in front of her. Princesses are very vindictive. Their motive is just to use you to get what they want out of you. They have no interest in you. And guys, we've been playing into that mindset for years. And until we stop playing into that mindset, we're always going to be played. So we can't blame women for the signs that women are showing us. What I'm doing in this video, I'm giving you the pointers so you'll recognize those signs and you can leave the relationship or don't even pursue a relationship and pursue somebody else who has a little bit more sense. One thing about princesses, they really don't want a man who has a spine. Why? Because you can't manipulate a man who has a spine. Because if a man has a high self-esteem about himself and has options of getting other women or women, the princess doesn't like that. She likes to be chased. And she believes that the man who has no spine, she can definitely manipulate. It's very easily. This is where the simp culture has come in. And a lot of women love simps, believe it or not. They've always liked simps. They don't like men who have a backbone. Why? Because a backbone is a threat to their manipulation tactics. And usually a man with a spine, he's going to detect that. So what that princess is going to do is call him the same thing that she really is. She's going to call him narcissistic and call him an asshole. Why? Because she can't get to him. He outsmarted her. A princess is not loyal. She's going to likely cheat on you if she's not already cheating on you. In other words, she always wants to have three types of guys. She wants to have a guy to pay her bills, buy her dinner, and bang her in the sack. And usually, the Poindexter is the one buying her the dinner. Then you have the intellectual guy. He's paying her bills. And you have Dexter St. Jock. He's banging her for free. Everybody knows this. But the problem with men, we're too naive to see that because we still believe in our minds, most guys, that all women are sugar and spice and everything nice. That could be farther from the truth. And until we as guys knock it off with being naive about women, guess what? We're always going to continue to complain about women. See, I'm giving you the game here. The bottom line is you got to take the game seriously or you're going to be played. And when I say played, you're going to be working your ass off for a woman that you couldn't get in the first place. In other words, you're wasting time. And have this acronym called MEET. Money, energy, emotions, and time. When you put all that into a woman you can't get, you just wasted a bunch of time and money. And what did you get for your ROI, which is return on investment? Nothing but aggravation, stress, and anxiety. And this is where you'll be put in, and I'm going to use one of Alan Roger Curry's modes because he has 4 modes. Mode 1 is aggressive. Mode 2 is passive aggressive. Mode 3 is deception. And mode 4 is misogyny. Well, this is how men become misogynists, because they blame everything on women when they know the woman is who they really are, narcissistic, but the men continue to deal with that type of woman. Why? Because the man has a low opinion of himself. He believes that he can't get better. And that's where the simp is developed. And of course, the simp is also developed from a boy raised around nothing but women. And she's going to tell you how great women are. And I'm talking about the mom. And a lot of these moms lie, because once you get older and you understand how the world is, you're going to see where your mom lied to you. We all love our mamas. But you got to remember, your mom is a woman. And your mom could have been one of those hoes and thoughts. And you could have been that baby that came from that thug or that Billy Joe or that Jose that she didn't want. You got to remember that. It's harsh, but it must be stated. Also, because whatever the princess woman feels for you, it's not love. It'll never be love. Why would it be love? Because she's not there to love you. She's there to take from you. So she's going to act as if she loves you or cares about you. That's another manipulative tactic. But too often, guys aren't smart and fast enough to see that, and this is why they get taken for a fool. And the main reason, and every guy should understand this, not to get involved with a princess is because there is no one there with whom is good enough for her. She's the one that always says that there are no good guys out there. The bottom line is she passes over good guys because of her unrealistic expectations, because she wants every guy to submit to her. And this is what's going on in this country. This is why we live in a gynocracy. And too many guys don't understand that either. She always believes that she is on the top of the world. Although most women don't do anything to earn the title of princesses, you must remember, everything that they're talking about is mind-driven. It's a fantasy. And they get these fantasies from television shows because they want to be like these actors in the television shows. And what is television? Television is fantasy. So one must understand that women with the entitlement or the princess syndrome live in television land, fantasy land. And they have replaced the real world for a virtual world. And remember, when something's virtual, it is not real. Now, they are a mouthy collection of wants, imagined needs, and whims that are all driven by self-importance and specialness. Because men don't understand that, again, I'm singing this tune, that's why they get played. So I want every man to do, and this is rule number 1 of my 52 rules of dating. Don't put a princessy woman on a pedestal. Don't put any woman on a pedestal when you're just dating them. They have to earn their spot with you. Don't just give them the spot because they look good. Always look at a woman's mental state. Too often, we men look at the outside. And if a woman is a feminist, or she's been indoctrinated by the Democratic Party or the socialist thinking, and a misandry, which you don't see a lot of misandry on the internet. It's always misogyny, but misandry is the hatred of men. If she comes across like that, or bougie, or princessy, entitled, narcissistic, don't deal with her. Why? Because at the end of the day, she's just an immature little child. And it doesn't matter what age, because you have a lot of these older women out here trying to be children just as if they were 20. They're getting tattoos, piercings, tight dresses, and a lot of these older women really live in fantasy land because they're trying to be reborn again virgins. And what they do, they've been run through, and I'm not saying all of them, but a number of them, by many guys. They've ridden many dicks and sucked many dicks during their lives. But now they think they can go to church and actually get revived by being saved. I don't care how saved you are. You made that decision in the background to be a freak and a hoe. That stigma is always going to be with you. The only way that a guy is never going to find out is if you don't show him or you don't tell him. And that's generally what a number of women do. They always exaggerate about the number of partners they have. And I know firsthand that many of them, particularly today's women, have had numerous partners. If you don't believe me, look how they conduct themselves in a relationship. They'll give you the appearance that they're loyal, but their actions won't dictate it. You give them time, they'll expose themselves. And that's what we men have to understand. I'm not saying all women are bad, but if you look at the government who produces policies that are favorable to women in a Western society, you'll find that women, once you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And what I mean with these policies that favor women, women get all the goodies for doing what? For being women. On the other hand, they want to be large and in charge, wear the titles, but they don't want any responsibilities. And at the end of the day, if you as a man confide in that behavior, then you have indicated to me that you're a eunuch, you're a mangina, a white knight, and a simp. And when you become those four adjectives, you have committed treason. And you need to trade in your man card because you've gone from a man to a bitch. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 401 Talk Zone radio show for this evening, Saturday, August 26th, 2017. You can tune in to the 401 Talk Zone radio show every Saturday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. Guest call-in number is 215-383-5785. Now, if you like my videos, please share and subscribe to the 401 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube so I can continue to give you quality information for educational purposes from a professional and mature perspective. Now, on this channel, I don't engage in debates, emotions, or social issues, nor do I participate in drama and or unnecessary bickering because it's counterproductive. What I do on my channel is teach. I give you the information on the tools that you have to apply in order to understand how the system works. And without any education or information, you're going to struggle. And then as a guy, you're going to end up picking a woman with the princess syndrome. And at the end of the day, you're going to end up with the stress, the depression, and the anxieties. So take heed to what I'm saying. Get this work because it's educational, it's realistic, and positive. And once you have that knowledge, you have that power. And if you have a topic, a business, or a new YouTube channel that you would like for me to discuss on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio, simply email me at lej6521@gmail.com. And if you have a comment, please leave your comment in the comment section under the video. But make sure that your comments are pithy. No bloviating, pettifogging, or filibustering. If you wish to opine. Now that's it for this video. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. Remember, please be gentle and respectful to each other. And have a wonderful and blessed evening.